Well, shooting downtown at night time still has a lot of the same problems as it did then, because I've shot down this since then for Judgment Night, for 24, for all sorts of movies, and you know, you book places down there and you tell residents, but in the end, no one really wants you there all night making a noise all the time. So since then and during then, you know, when you go downtown, you run a gauntlet. You get things thrown at you, bottles of piss or bags full of human shit, and which is a pretty good trick if you think about it. That's pretty good at putting you off. We were cleaning out alleyways down there to shoot in, and we'd find dead bodies under the garbage, and there were giant rats down there, which the grips would delight in putting on leashes because they were like small dogs, and walk them around. And nowadays, I don't think we'd be able to do a lot of things we did then, which we'd be shooting in the streets with explosions. We'd have helicopters landing in the street, which is absolutely unheard of now. I'm not sure if you could get away with doing half the stuff on rooftops and nighttime and shooting, and there were shots would ring out around you. In those days, it was a lot more dangerous to shoot down there than it is now too.
One of the stunts we have in our film that we considered a high-risk situation was when the predator is hanging on the side of a building 150 feet high, and he's fighting with Danny Glover, and Danny severs his arm. That's the only thing holding the predator onto the building, so the predator falls. We used a device called a descender. It's a wire that we put him on and actually drop him at speed and then break him real quick before he gets to the ground. And the gentleman we used, Dave Smith, is a one-armed stuntman who lives in San Diego, who came up to play the predator for that day. And he had never even seen a descender work before. So on top of preparing everything, I had to also make sure that he was real comfortable with it too.
He had to be really brave for that because we were actually up on a 13-story building, and he's on like a descender rig where he comes flying down that building after that arm gets cut off. So we were all up 13 stories working on that scene where Danny Glover is there and Kevin is there, and we're all kind of working on the edge of that building, to get that real effect. Not sure they do it exactly like that nowadays. Everything was safe. We were all lashed, had like cables on us and whatever, so we couldn't fall off, but you still sometimes get that weird vertigo feeling looking down 13 stories. But Dave had to take that fall coming down, which was pretty wild.
I'm real excited. Today's a great day to talk because it's the climax scene. It's the last scene in the movie, and it's the final confrontation between the Predator and Danny, and you get to see the spacecraft, which is so fabulous, So we're all really jazzed. I mean, it's really buzzing here today.
What you come to realize is there is underground in Los Angeles a spaceship, and it's a spaceship housing our Predator.
The spaceship, took a long time to design, and once again, it wasn't the biggest budget in the world. It wasn't like a Terminator film or something. So Larry kind of came up with this idea of like these backlit polystyrene things, and we were all interested because of the history of the Predator, of Mayan architecture and all the Mayan graphics and all the temples and stuff in Mexico and South America, where you see a lot of the representations of their gods look like spacemen in space capsules, chariot of the gods kind of stuff.
So it's something that I don't think you've seen in quite a long time. A very functional, smart, strong, utilitarian, alien craft, very much like the Predator itself, mimicking its, movements and camouflage, and being a real great combination of organic and primitive, reptilian, little touches of Aztec and Mayan, and it's almost like it's a weapon itself.
We put dry ice in just to make it feel like a hot sort of environment that they came from, sort of steamy and stuff.
I had a steam room put in my house, and it's recent, it's new. I got to get some of the kinks out of it, but it gets all the impurities out of the body, I mean, it's remarkable. I mean, you should see some of the things I've been able to do, some of the things I've been able to do and collect with my steam room. Over here, for example, we're all going to look like this one day, So don't be frightened. I mean, don't be perturbed because I showcase this, but it gives me a sense of a completeness and everything back to nature, you know? And these are some artifacts that I've collected, and makes a nice little accommodation to this wonderful steam room. You know, you're invited over if you get a chance. I mean, you're gonna have a ball.
I think the idea of putting the alien head in the film was Stan's originally. It was a great idea, and there's a sequence in the middle of the film where he cuts off the head of the Jamaican gang leader guy, and you see him cleaning the head and preparing it for his trophy.
We just kind of went wild and fabricated up a bunch of different alien skeletons and whatever to go in that case, and kind of a nod to that comic that was going on at the time. We did an alien skull and put it in there, just kind of an inside fun thing.
And originally you saw the alien head there, and then you see it again at the end, but then when we cut it together we thought, if you put the alien head there, we wondered if that was you think that that's going to start off a different storyline, so we cut it out of the first bit, but at the end you see it pretty clearly, but we kind of throw it away a bit. We don't concentrate too much on it, we just leave it as a part. There's other great skulls up there too, of these gigantic monsters, you know, so beautifully made. Winston really did an incredible job on this film. They did so much stuff that unless you really study the film, like all the details and the costumes of trinkets and artifacts and jewelry that they've taken from people that they've killed, you know, and it really builds up on the costumes, and if you look closely, it feels like they've had a history, you know, and that's very important that you stop people looking at the rubber. The shot at the end with all the Predators appearing was an incredibly expensive outing. It costs hundreds of thousands of dollars at the time, because we had to have all the different Predators, and once in suits, so we had to have suits for everyone, which is really expensive. And then we had to shoot them all against blue screen and green screen separately over and over again for different reasons, and they were standing in dryouts, which was a pain in the ass. And Danny was a huge Lakers fan, and because it's so long ago now, I can't remember exactly who we got for the costumes, but I know Danny asked the Lakers, I think we got a couple of the Lakers at the time, to come and be in the costumes, because we needed these really tall guys who are athletic and who could support a huge amount of weight. There's an older one who's the main guy, and then there's sort of younger, groovier ones and slimmer ones and different colored ones. Each
Artist that was working here kind of had one that I said, you know, you come up with, you know, here's some general paint schemes, ideas, and, you know, you add your touches to this one, and you decorate them with your own jewelry or whatever you want to do to it. And so, you know, each one became a fun project for all the artists working on it. The elder Predator, we call them the grayback, you know, kind of like a silverback kind of idea. That was generated out of the old Predator mold, and we made some different appliances to go on his face with some extra ridges and to just change him. But if the fans out there look carefully at his suit and everything, even though he's got a different paint scheme and we kind of dressed him slightly different, that's the original Predator that's been kind of doctored up. So his head shape is a little different. It's more like the original one, and just some tweaks added to him, and it's Kevin playing that character.
The film was never finished till the last second. There were no audience previews. You know, we just about made our 70mm print for the premiere. I mean, it was still wet when we were showing it. It was such a long, complicated post because of all the effects. And that you know, I look at it now and I change things, you know. I change loads of stuff I see now. And I mean, my filmmaking style is completely different, but at the time it was just a riot. I just had the best time.